People tell me things, all sorts of things that you really shouldn't tell anyone except your therapist. Now, this is great when I'm actually your therapist. Please tell me all about the secrets of what has happened to you, the shame of mistakes you've made, the best and worst of your family, those hopes and goals that you aren't ready to share with anyone yet. That is all excellent work in therapy, but not on an airplane. When I'm on an airplane, I'm sitting next to someone who, while only 6 inches away from me, is no one that I know. Have you ever had someone tell you something that you really wish they hadn't? Like, say, my neighbor in seat 9C, who tells me all about his girlfriend's favorite sexual position, and then asks me what this means for the future of their relationship. What I want to say is, well, maybe she was a cowgirl in a previous life, but I resist the temptation. How about my esthetician telling me about her intergenerational family history of sexual abuse while ripping wax off of my eyebrows? Or my personal favorite, an acquaintance who corners me at the bar at Coors Field to bemoan her relationship. Turns out she's dating someone who's married, and he is, shocker, not leaving his wife. By the way, they never leave. You totally should. But then it gets worse. She points across the bar. See the guy in the purple shirt? That's him. And the woman he's talking to, the one in the white sweater, that's his wife. Oh no, these people are 52 feet away from me. So even if the airplane is flying over water, it seems awfully dramatic to use the emergency exit mid-flight. And I don't want to lurch off the table and get my eyebrow ripped off, and I actually don't want to miss the baseball game. I also am unable to whip out a set of intake paperwork and ask for my typical hourly fee for a session. You see, I'm a psychologist in real life. I don't just play one on an airplane. What I can do instead is set boundaries. But unfortunately, we've really gotten off track with how we talk about boundaries and how we're teaching people how to set them. A while ago, my daughter had me watch a TikTok video. It was a young woman with her hands on her hips, and she said, "I set a boundary. I told them no." Now this, my friends, is not boundary setting. This is just a video about someone being a jerk. So contrary to what we're modeling on social media, boundaries actually are not a method of controlling other people. They are not a demand that someone else behave in a certain way. And they also aren't a criticism of someone else's behavior. Boundaries are the intersection between your values and your priorities. They are the dividing line that defines who you are and who you are not. And when communicated well, they give others information as well as yourself, information about lines that you don't cross, what you will do and what you won't. After all, the best boundaries are what you say yes to, not just what you say no to. And most importantly, boundaries are supposed to be an invitation in to different levels of connection in your world. Growing up in Virginia Beach to my Bronx born and raised dad and my Yankee upstate New Yorker mother, the boundaries in our house confused a lot of my Southern friends. "Oh, no, don't call me ma'am. That's what you should call your grandmother," is what my mom would say. "Oh my gosh, call me Bob," is what my dad would tell my friends. Sleepovers would happen regularly, and the general rule was that if my brother and I were bringing home more than 3 friends after school, we had to call and alert my mother so that she could get a Stouffer's party-size lasagna and pull it out of the freezer. One of my best friends in high school became like a surrogate sister. She had her own side of the bed, her own toothbrush on the bathroom counter. Another friend lived with us for an entire summer. Most weekends, breakfast was a pile of food served up to a pile of hungry teenagers. Things were friendly, open, casual at my house, maybe a touch of mayhem. And while boundaries were certainly very loose around socializing, they were rock solid on kindness, respect, and school performance. Now, the boundaries at my southern friends' houses were typically really different. Never, ever, not even when I was grown, married, and a new mom, did I call my friends' parents by their first names. Upstairs at my friends' houses was a place that was reserved for family, and friends were received pretty much exclusively on the first floor. Boundaries were more formal, strict, and rigid. Not bad necessarily, just different. So tell me about your house. What's it like? Let's think of it like a castle. After all, you are the king or queen of your domain. Who's allowed in? And how do you decide who goes where? Are you a more the merrier type of house with your life an open book? Are you more closed, distant, and reserved? This is unique to you, and it changes over time. And how do you communicate about the impact of your boundaries on others? For example, my airplane neighbor, my esthetician, and my acquaintance at the ball game all demonstrated a colossal lack of boundaries. And as a result, they also really showed a misunderstanding of when and where to share their secrets. I've often wondered if something similar happens to priests outside the confessional. So taking on the metaphor of a castle, let's start at the top floor. This is your sacred bedroom space. This is where you and your significant other snuggle, and your dog sleeps at the foot of your majestic bed. This is where your kids cram in if they've had a scary dream, or it's a lazy Sunday morning and you're playing poker before church. Oh, wait, that was us. But seriously, your bedroom isn't supposed to be crowded with your neighbors, your work colleagues, and the dude from the grocery store. This isn't where you invite your accountant. It's not that kind of party. So who is invited to be on your second floor? Stay in the guest room. Who's invited over to dinner on the first floor? Who do you prefer to receive in the courtyard? Who's the hard pass? The gates are barred. You'll throw them to the alligators in the moat. And most importantly, who gets to join you in the hot tub? So let's use this map of your boundaries. Let's provide a roadmap to others. Where do they belong? Who's permitted in? Who would you prefer to keep at a distance? And remember that this changes over time, and it's unique to you. And one of the things that's interesting as boundaries change is it can surprise people. For example, typically my husband and I host large orphan Thanksgivings, as well as company the week between Christmas and New Year's. We did neither this past year, instead focusing on our own little household. Telling everyone that we loved them, but we wouldn't be hosting, certainly disrupted our regular tradition. Getting clear on my boundaries has helped me field how I show up with others. With my friends, we can talk about pretty much anything, pretty much any time. I love to help, I love to hear, even if it's about choices I might wish that you'd made differently. With my next stranger in seat 9C, though, I'm likely to gently dissuade them from sharing details about their sex life. And if for some reason I run into the woman from Coors Field, I'm probably going to suggest that she get some therapy. So, my castle is much more secure these days. And now I have better tools for when someone rushes behind the main gate. If I find you uninvited in the hot tub, I won't go all medieval on you and throw you to the alligators, but I will gently escort you off the grounds with my new mantra. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm off the clock. After all, the best boundaries are an invitation in to different levels of connection in your world, not just a nasty shove out of it. Thank you.